Welcome to the channel, where we teach advanced level preparedness and encourage resilience through self-sustainability. If you would like to support our non-monetized channel, please consider using our Amazon affiliate or PayPal donation links in the description below.
Welcome back, and welcome to the video to where I explain to you how a DC electric motor works. So this is a electric motor off of a Quickie P222 SE wheelchair. I was hoping to find something a little more simple to show you. However, this is the best example that I have. So no problems, we will get it all covered. So first of all, I've done a couple of things prior to disassembly that I want to show you because it's important, very important, that you do these things. First off, I did mark the housing. If you notice, I have two lines here, and this is to make sure that, of course, you get it on at the same spot on the same side. Okay, and then here I did the same, except I put the marks wider. That way I can differentiate between the two. So I did that. You'll also notice that I have numbers. These are called brush covers. I have numbers on each brush cover. The reason I did that is because if you're going to reuse your brushes, it is very important that you put the brushes back in the same hole and in the same direction that they came out. Very, very important. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the brushes themselves. So I'm going to start with number one here, and I'm just going to pop loose the brush cover. You notice I got 4 lids sitting over here. That would be why. And I'm going to take, you notice I have the number on one particular side here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Sharpie here, and as I pull the brushes out, I'm going to give them a marking. And these are stamped also, and the stamp is in the same direction as what the number is. And you're going to find that on all 4 of them. Really wasn't planned that way, but it certainly does work out well. So moving on to brush number 2. Now if you don't put your brushes back in the same hole in the same direction, what you're going to do is you're going to cause uneven wear on the brushes, and they will wear out prematurely. As well as your motor may not perform at maximum capability because the brushes aren't quite making a good contact to the commutator, and I'll be showing you that momentarily. Once again, the stamping, because there's stamping only on one side, once again the stamping is on the same side I have marked here. Not planned, but works out well. Brush number 3. Off comes the cap, out comes the brush. Once again, same side that's stamped, we're going to mark her anyway. And lastly, brush number 4. This particular motor does have 4 brushes. It has more brushes so that it is able to create more torque. So, same thing here. On the stamp side, we'll mark it anyway. And that is all 4 of our brushes. So this particular motor has something interesting on it. It's got a brake system on it. So we're going to remove that brake system now. Go ahead and we'll take our screw loose right here. And then this has a little bitty Allen screw right there. So we're going to loosen that Allen screw so that we can get this lever off of here. Allen screw is loose, and there we go. Lever is removed. I also marked, if I didn't show you this, but this goes on a particular way, and so I also marked it so that I would know where to put it back into place. So I don't know if you can see the marking very well, but it's there, and I'll hit it again. Actually, that is not correct. It helps if you turn it the right direction, Mike. So here we go. I marked here, and that will go here, just like that. Let me mark that a little bit better so I'm not doing the same thing over again in a little bit. So we're going to Just make sure we get good marks here, just like that, so we know and we put it back on the right way. Okay, now we need to take the brake cover off, the brake housing cover. Simple, simple. I'm going to set it up on the end here so you guys can see it a little bit better. Throw these screws in any one of these. Doesn't matter which one. Just want to make sure we don't lose them. And there we go. There is the brake housing. So you'll notice there's a connector. We're going to go ahead and disconnect that connector. Okay, that's the connector that the cable here has 4 contacts on it. 2 of those are for the motor, 2 of those are for the brake, and that's what you see here. You see those brake wires coming out of the housing here and going into the brake assembly. So pretty cool little system here. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove these Allens here. And again, if you feel better doing it, you can make marks. I'll do that because I believe in leading by example. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to make a mark here, and we'll make a mark here, just like that, so we know that direction is the way it goes. So I will have to grab another Allen here. Is this the right size? Yes. So let's go ahead and get this brake assembly loose and off. Okay. They clearly used a little bit of thread lock when they put those in. Okay, we have all of those screws loose, so I'm just going to pull that away, get that unwrapped on the wire there, and we're just going to set our brake assembly off to the side there. Okay, looking good, looking good. So now we're at the motor, and what I'm going to do, there's only 2 screws that holds this entire unit together, and so what we're going to do is we're going to grab our screwdriver. We're just going to pull these screws out. Uh-oh. I will find that momentarily. It's just a lock washer. Oh. Found it already. Throw those in there so they don't disappear. And now our housing should come free. So we're gonna pull this whole unit out here, and there's quite a bit of force because this thing is a strong motor. So we're gonna pull this out here, If you do this and you've got a motor that's a higher torque motor that's got stronger magnets and whatnot, be careful, because when you pull on it, make sure you pull it all the way. Don't just pull it a little bit and then loosen up on it, because it will definitely snap back and get your finger pinched in there, and that's not fun. So we're just going to pull that out there, and then I'm going to try to pop this off. I'm just going to take the hammer, give her some taps, and there you go. See, simple enough. So here we have the housing, and let me set. This is just going to have your magnets in it. Okay, it's pretty simple enough. It's just going to have magnets in it. Call those permanent magnets. And this is your brush housing here. Okay, your brushes, as you saw earlier, and they're probably not going to be in the right spot, but I'm just going to show you here. See how those brushes push and they're spring loaded there? And I'm trying to get my fat fingers out of the way. It's spring loaded there so that it can keep a constant pressure on the commutator. Okay, we're going to dig into that right now. Let me put this back in its home and set this off to the side. So this whole assembly here, and I'm talking about the rotating part, oddly enough, is called a rotor. Okay, and this is where it gets sticky between DC motors and AC motors and the different types of motors, because where and what these different components are called will change depending on the type of motor. Considering that this is a DC brushed motor, this spinning assembly here you're going to call the rotor. Okay, now on the rotor you're going to have your armature. What's the armature? The armature is your windings. Okay, these are what produces a magnetic field when electricity is applied to the commutator. On the commutator, what you're going to have is several divided little plates there. Okay, and if you went on exact opposite sides on the commutator, you will actually be energizing, or it will be connected to one of these windings on the armature. Okay, so as you can tell, there are several windings on this particular DC motor. Several. These are a pretty complex motor, and I hadn't taken this one apart before, so it does look really good on the inside. I don't think it's too awful dirty. Of course, that's carbon from the brushes. Your brushes are going to wear, and you're going to get carbon all over. That is carbon from the brushes, and if you look up inside the housing, there's a lot of carbon built up in there as well. So that's basically the motor disassembled. So again, how it works is you have your permanent magnets inside your housing here. As this rotor spins and the brushes touch the different commutator, and I'm calling them plates, commutator plates, it will energize a coil. And what that will do is, you know, of course, negative, or not negative, positive, but you'll have a north-south on your magnets. And that's essentially what you're doing. And as this spins, your brushes are going to hit a new commutator plate and energize a different set of windings to help pull it just a little bit more. And it keeps doing that process. It keeps repeating that process, and voila, your motor spins. So it's pretty simple. Now, most times on an electric motor, when you have a problem, you're usually either going to have a problem with your brushes or your bearings. Okay, so typically that's going to be your main two areas. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm checking the play, and there's a little bit of play, but I see that whole bearing moving there. I don't see the bearing moving on the shaft very much. I'm seeing the bearing move in the housing much more. So that seems to be okay. We'll check this one. Little bit of play, not much, definitely acceptable, definitely not in bad shape. So before we put this motor back together, what I'm actually going to do, I did have here a little piece of sandpaper, and hey, back with my sandpaper. and erect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up my commutator, because that's a good maintenance thing to do. So I'm just taking, this is 1000 grit actually, and I'm just taking it, and I'm just cleaning it up. Put my microphone back on. Hopefully you could have heard me there. Okay. Sorry about that. I didn't want to walk in the other room with the microphone on because it causes static and stuff in the audio, and I didn't want to do that. So, okay, that's good enough. We're not going to go super crazy on it. So, I'm going to wipe that off, and you want to just take a look and make sure that there's nothing in between any of those that would short out the different plates, because you don't want to energize multiple coils when you're not supposed to be energizing multiple coils. In this particular motor, since it is a 4-pole motor, meaning it has 4 brushes, it will be energizing 2 sets of armature coils at one time. So, but all that looks really good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my rag here, and I'm going to go ahead and just wipe out this housing to get all that carbon dust out of there, because carbon dust can cause problems. And the motor that was repaired, the oil got in it, and it carried all those that carbon powder in between the commutator plates. And so what that was doing was shorting out the armature. Okay, so we're just going to wipe this down good. Flip over and get the other side. You can blow it out with compressed air if you want. I don't have any of that handy right here, so that's that. Okay, now we can work on reassembling the motor. Okay, now for reassembly, we're simply going to make sure that we get the stuff in the same direction. There's our marks right there. It took me a second to find it, and our marks are there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this down, and again, you want to be careful, because this thing will snatch your hand up quicker than you can imagine. So I'm going to keep my fingers clear of the opening there, and I'm going to work this down. Fingers clear of the opening. You see how it grabbed that and yanked it down? If my fingers would have been in there, that would have smarted a bit. So just make sure your holes are lined up. We're going to actually do a better job of lining it in a moment. Next up, we want to go ahead and take the part of the housing that contains the brushes. I got the marks here. And I did have marks here. I promise I did. Aha, now I see them. Make your marks bigger than I do, because I can do a lot of stuff by memory, and I realize not everybody has the weird messed up memory that I do. And there's there's a washer in here, and that washer's just a hair off and fighting it from going in. So, not a big deal. Just got to make sure you get it lined up correctly. Sometimes it takes wiggling and smacking, and once in a while it might even take a few curse words. So yeah, no curse words, but I got it. So we've got that. Let's make sure that our marks are lined up like that. Okay. because we've got to put these long screws in and make sure that we get them the right direction. Real simple, basic operation. They're not very complex. The DC brushed motor is the easiest, in my opinion, to work on. Oops. I'm trying to keep it so you can see what I'm doing at the same time, and it can make it challenging. Okay, that one's going to be a bear. Let me try to get the other one started. Check our marks. Aha, see, I got that one started. That's why I did that. So now we're going to work on getting this one started. Oh, there it goes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring these down, but I'm not going to tighten. I'm just going to get it more or less like finger tight, as they would say. Okay, and then what we're going to do is there's going to be just a little bit of play in that motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this about the middle of that play. And that's important that you do that so your motor aligns properly. Tighten up our screws here. Okay, that's done. Next up, we will reinstall our brake assembly. These work really cool. I like these. So we're going to reinstall our brake assembly. Actually, it might be easier if it's not engaged. Okay, that's fine. Should be up over here. There they are. And what it is there's a hex plate in there. And so that hex plate, let me go ahead and engage the brake here. Oops. You got to line that up. I'll show you. Line that up. Most motors aren't going to have this. I'm just going to line that up and turn on the brake so that way it holds it in place so that I can kind of set it down and get it somewhat close. And then what I'm going to do is release the brake and of course hop it out of there. That's okay. Normally I don't have this much problem, but of course when you're making a video. Alright, we got it set into place. So let's make sure that's lined up the way it was, which was right about there. And then we start grabbing our screws here. I'm going to get them all started and then we'll bring them on home. These are really awesome motors. 550 watts a piece. And of course there's two of them on the wheelchair. And let me tell you what. These things have torque like you would not believe. While I have this all apart, because there's a gearbox that bolts to this, I will do another video because I never have gotten that gearbox tore down and lubricated with fresh grease. So I'm actually going to make a video on doing that after I make this video. Got this in place. We're just going to go ahead and, like we did before, we're going to snug all four and then we'll go back and we'll tighten. And you could have pulled the motor apart without taking this brake off. However, I wanted to give you guys a real good glimpse of everything that I could. Okay, that's snug. Let's go back. And I typically will always tighten outsides like you would a car tire. When you change your car tire, you want to do the star pattern when you tighten your bolts back up. I do the same with everything. So we need to plug back in our brake here. Oop. Helps if you try to do it the right direction. I'm working further away from me than I'm used to. Oops. And my eyes aren't what they used to be. The old gray mare's eyes ain't what they used to be. Okay, I'll stop singing. I am not a singerer. Not a singerer. Okay. And I didn't mark this. Let that be a lesson. I didn't mark that, but I really don't need to, because I know that it roughly goes on the same direction as what the label does. So basically all I'm going to be doing is lining up the screws. It went like that. Okay. Lining up the screws just like that. Grab our smaller Phillips here. Come on, jump in there. I gotta be close. There we go. I think I got it. Yep. Do that to the others. Get them started. Just snugging them up, and we'll tighten them down here on this next pass. Okay, that's back on. I'm going to take a little lever here. I'm going to make sure that it's in the same place. That looks right to me. I don't think that's off. That looks right to me. Can we be off maybe a smidge? Maybe. But I don't think we're off that much. Nope. And then also, there's a set screw in there, and I could have used that too to line it up. That's how I'm going to line it up that direction. So right where that set screw was, let me pull that back off. You can see a mark there where that set screw was. I'm just going to set that there. I'm going to grab my little Allen. I'm just going to give that a tighten. I think I got it a little far back. Let me go ahead and move it back forward. About there, I think looks good. You can tighten that up. Just like that. Got that tight. And now we have to put in our brushes. Remember, they need to go in the same hole in the same direction. So like that. And it's a good idea to buy your brushes. I don't know if I said that. I will put up on the screen. I will put up on the screen a bunch of brushes on Amazon. I'll give you an Amazon affiliate link in the description and in the comments. And it's probably a good idea, if you think you might be doing this kind of stuff, to go ahead and order some. And the thing is if you don't have an exact match for a brush, let's say for instance it's real close to that, but the brush you need is a little bit smaller, you can most certainly take a file and gently file down that brush. They're made out of a soft metal. Just gently file down that brush so that it will fit your particular application. So I have done that a number of times. You can also find brushes in your local Tractor Supply stores. Rural King, I don't know if TSC has them. I'm sure they probably do. I know for a fact Rural King's got them because I bought them there before. Or you can go to Amazon and buy a box full of them. You don't want to crank too hard on tightening them because it is plastic and you could strip it. Now, your motor may vary. You may not have that. I do. Let me double check that last one I put in. I was talking and I don't particularly, yeah, I did. I normally do this stuff without thinking, but I'm talking, and so I just wanted to make sure my memory did not, I could not replay in my memory putting that back in, so I just wanted to be safe than sorry. Okay, number 3, of course, that's in the right direction. Put it in. Grabbing Allen wrenches with our magnetized screwdriver there. And the last brush cover here. Make sure that our motor is going to spin. That is with the brake off. And our motor spins fine. Okay, so there you have it. That is the basics on a DC brushed motor and how they operate. They're rather simple to work on. Typically, the 2 main things that would go out on one is going to be your bearings or your brushes. You can make sure that you have bearings in stock. You can make sure you have brushes in stock. I highly recommend that you do both. If you have whatever it may be that has an electric motor on it, that is really gonna put you in a bad spot if you don't have that. I would make sure that you have brushes and bearings to be able to repair that motor. Normally, you throw a set of bearings in, you can clean up that commutator like I showed you, and put your new brushes in, and you're good to go. Now, when you have new brushes, you know, I would tell you to put them in a direction that you could best identify. Like, for instance, on this particular motor, you notice on the side that I put my numbers was the same side that the brush was stamped. So that's how I would do it. I would make sure that you have some type of a visual cue. That way you know which direction those brushes originally went in. So that's all there is to it. They are really not that complex. Not even a 4-pole unit with a brake is not really that complex. So anyway, that's all there is to the DC brushed electric motor. I hope you come back and join us when I discuss and I gotta say this, even though it's not quite accurate, the brushless DC motors, which really aren't DC, they're AC. But that's for another video. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Hope you could learn something from this. As always, shalom.